All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to episode 302 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill. Today I'm joined by Daniel Weeze on the board.
Hi there.
We've got a very happy St. Louis Kiss. Lonnie finally got a quarterback.
Hooray! Hooray!
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, I could see your joy yesterday on Facebook, and, you know, I wish you the very best. They probably will trade him today for something like a garbage can.
Trade him for an offensive lineman today or something.
Yeah. Cause
the neighbors who were on the fence that thought I was out of my mind, it got confirmed last night when I ran around the house with my Bengals flag after they drafted him.
Well,
naked.
Good. You should have a happy moment before they even play a game. That's the way. You've had your joy for the season in one moment.
Something.
And of course,
2-14. Give me something.
Going from the voice of no reason to the voice of reason, Ken 65 Blizzard. So I'm really hoping that none of you have been drinking detergent this morning. Not a good thing. Lay off the Clorox. Stay healthy.
You mean that won't work?
No, apparently not. But, you know, don't take any risks. Don't take my word for it. Let me just close this medical file. Let's see here. We got news. Yeah, we got news. Mike Brunn put up an excellent interview with Bruce Kulick and Lisa Lane yesterday. So you can find links for that all over the place because Mike is very good at putting links of that all over the place. But do check it out. Very fun. Also, yesterday, Ken Sharp did a Starving Artist acoustic set on Facebook, and he pinged me and said, hey, check it out when I do it. So I tuned in, heard one of his new songs, which I really dig. But then he dedicated a rendition of Mr. Make-Believe from Gene's solo album, which was absolutely cool. So I put up a video of that on the FAQ feed. And he's recording an album at the moment, or trying to record an album. So check out his catalog, chuck him a few pennies or dollars if you can, as he's an independent musician like Mark. And I always like to support musicians, especially ones who have such a strong Kiss connection like Ken does, and all that he's done for the community. All right, so how's everyone doing? Everyone ready for some, we're going to go with a Lonnie topic today, so get things kicked off with that. Lonnie, you know, your topic's pretty cool. And I'm just going to read your topic out that we've decided to discuss at the top of the show. And it's, we often talk about Kiss regrets, things, events that you wish you would have attended, but given the state of the world, let's be positive. Woo-are! What are your top 3 or 5 Kiss events that you've attended that you wouldn't trade the memories of for anything? So, Lonnie, tell us why you think we need to be so positive. And give us your first pick.
Obviously, I think we need to try to stay positive with everything that's going on in the world, and there's so much negativity and uncertainty surrounding, you know, the world right now. So, you know, let's give our listeners some positive news and some positive vibes. Let's talk about some good things. You know, we often talk about Kiss regrets, or I hate this album, I hate that song, or, you know, let's try to do something uplifting given the state of the world. So that's why I wanted to do that. And, you know, so I was thinking about, we often talk about regrets. So let's think about things that we wouldn't trade for anything. There's memories of seeing the band, or expos you went to and you got to meet a certain member of the band, and, you know, how it just confirmed all your thoughts about him. That, man, it really is a down to earth, great person. So, you know, or concerts you went to, like you went on a road trip and, you know, bonded with, you know, either, you know, one of your best friends, or met one of your best friends or something at a Kiss event. So I was thinking about that. And there's one event that there's several, but one of them that sticks out to me is in 2007, Kiss did that hit and run tour of just like 3 or 4 dates, and one of the shows they did was in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. And I've mentioned it on the show before that I went to that show, and it would have been a 12-hour drive from where I lived to Sault Ste. Marie. And I really wanted to do it because I hadn't seen the band, really hadn't toured America since 2004. So it'd been, you know, 3 years since I'd seen the band. Just really wanted to go. So I bought tickets. We were like 7 rows from the stage. and I didn't really have someone to go with. So I ended up going with my brother. He said, I'll go with you. He was, we'll make it a guys' weekend. We'll go together. So instead of driving the whole way, we flew from St. Louis to Detroit. The short flight, pretty cheap flight during the week from St. Louis to Detroit. Spent the night in Detroit and then drove from Detroit up to Sault Ste. Marie. It was really scenic drive up through Michigan, in the summertime. And, we got there and we got to see the band. It was great. Go look at that set list. It's fantastic what they play. Just some really classic Kiss. And from there we went, and then the next day we went and looked at the Soo Locks, where a lot of these massive ships dock outside the city. And we went to a Detroit Tigers baseball game the next before I was just fantastic. One reason why that show really stands out to me is because it was the first show of that little four date tour. And now when you go see a show, you know what the set list is going to be. And I had no idea, what they were going to play from song to song to song. It was just a surprise all night. It reminded me about being a kid and going to a concert and seeing a show that you didn't know what the next song what's the next song they're going to play. Or, Julian had that experience when he went to the first show of the End of the Road, because you didn't know what the set list was going to be. And you don't get to experience that very often anymore. It's a really neat feeling, not knowing, and the excitement of what are they going to play next? What are they going to play next? And they break into Come On and Love Me, and like my brother and I start punching each other. Like, I can't believe they're playing Come On and Love Me. It's so awesome. So, but going to that show with him, and I go to most of the Kiss shows I go to are either with my wife or with him. He's, but that experience of going with him and bonding with him was just, I'll never forget that show forever. It's like one of my highlights, period.
Nice. What a wonderful story. In the middle of that, your Wi-Fi in honor went all Canadian as well. So that was great.
I'm on Wi-Fi. I'm not for much trouble as I give Mark is perfect.
Daniel, how about you?
Lonnie had a lot of great points. One of them being not knowing the set list when you enter a concert. I've been really big on that the last few years. I have stayed away from YouTube when I'm attending concerts, and sort of re-experiencing the feeling back in the 90s when I went to shows. It's hard to stay away, when they start a tour and you want to see it all. But last time they were here actually last year, I was in Norway and saw a show, and I managed to stay away most of the time from the internet and YouTube, and I didn't really know what they were going to play. You guys gave away a few songs, of course, when we discussed from time to time. But I think that's a great point. Not knowing the set list is really important when you watch a concert, to me at least. So that was a great experience. But the best experience, I have to say, was the first time I saw Kiss. No surprise. It was the first time I attended a huge event, a big concert. And when you go with your friends, childhood friends growing up together, listening to Kiss, waiting to see them. You have to remember Kiss was here in 88, and then they didn't come back until the reunion tour. So I hadn't seen them at all. And then we went to the reunion concert, and it was awesome. And if you think back, I think it's hard to top the amount of excitement all around, the city, Stockholm. There were, masked men all over the place, and the newspapers front page all the time, and great reviews as well. I didn't think they were that good that they wrote in the paper, but it was an excellent show. So it's hard to top that one, and there are more memories, but it often comes back to live experiences, meeting people, getting new friends, and that same stuff. But the biggest one is the reunion concert. Even though it wasn't my favorite lineup, it was the event in itself. You can't top it really. And also another important thing: the audience. Audiences is how do you say it in plural?
Audiences.
Audience.
Aren't the same way these days. Far from it. So that, being a kid going to the concert and finding yourself being moved by 35,000 people, 50 meters to the side in 10 seconds, it was kind of cool. I've never experienced that in later years. So that's my best memory.
Very cool. And I love how you and Lonnie are kind of setting a theme here. Ken, how about you?
Well, you know what? I'm going to stick with that theme. It's one of the best experiences. It would be, and what was the 28th anniversary yesterday, I guess, of the Kiss at the Stone club, the club in the club tour for just before the Revenge tour. They did the club tour, and the very first show of the club tour was in San Francisco at the Stone, a club called the Stone. And I was lucky enough to get a ticket to that. And the thing about that is, I didn't know what to expect either, except for I knew we had a new drummer, and this was the very first performance with Kiss. So Eric Singer was the new drummer, and it was cool seeing that. That was an experience, being crammed and like sardines in the club. All of us, sweaty bodies, rubbing up. It was all, it was pretty warm in there at the time in that club. It got pretty warm. And then the set list, like you were talking about, is the songs that they pulled out for it. And I just brought it up here. Like, they played songs like Parasite, Strutter, just some songs that they hadn't played, plus the new songs, Unholy, Take It Off. They've also played Firehouse and I Stole Your Love.
Yeah.
I Want You.
Mm-hmm.
So these are a lot of songs, and plus some other that kind of semi-deep cuts. So, I mean, there's 22 songs, and I came out after me and my buddy, who I went with at the time, after we left that, we thought, man, that was freaking awesome. That was just an awesome, just blew me away. I mean, and there's no effects or anything going on. It's just them playing heavy duty, hard rock right in front of you. And that was fantastic. The other thing about it too was cool is, the album hadn't come out yet. We just saw the Unholy video. So what happened is, when we're walking in, there's a long line, and we're walking in, one by one. And once we got inside before the show started, they're playing music. I'm like, what the heck is that? I hear, that's Gene, but I never heard that song before. And it was, Thou Shalt Not was playing at that time. So at that time, it was playing the second half of the album. And I was like, holy crap, this is good. I'm like, I'm really excited, even more excited about the album after, even Unholy got me excited, but after hearing more, I was like, oh man, this is going to be great. So that was one of my favorite experiences that I would want to,
that set list was magic. It was like the Hot in the Shade tour on steroids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was
you
very
left off
similar
the wimpy songs from Hot in the Shade and added a few rockers.
Yeah, there's no
I think it was
Forever
great.
on there or anything. They just they blew through it. I mean, It was just one rocker after another. Yeah.
And like 1973, they were back in leather in a club. Just relying on the power of the music.
Full circle.
Yeah. So, full circle. Exactly. I mean, because the Hot in the Shade tour obviously was fantastic, but those club dates that they did for Revenge were, beyond superlatives. Hey,
I'm back.
Nice of you back to join us. Well, we've got my mine, I think for now, is my favorite memory because it's fresh and it's recent and it continues in the same theme of everything that Daniel, Lonnie and Ken have already spoken about, concerts and going to one. And it's this year's End of the Road tour in Oakland. And it's not just the fun stuff that happened before. It is the show and only the show. Obviously, I'm there with friends, front row, and the guy on one side of me is on the screen here, and the guy who's on the other side of me, I'd never met in my life, but he was just so much fun throughout the whole show that it was impossible for it not to just seep in. Security in front of us was really cool. But being front row, putting the camera away, putting other devices away, just letting the show and the moment envelop you, and to really appreciate the majesty of the performance, and making eye contact with Paul and Gene and Tommy and Eric as well during the show, just letting go as well. And I was just going nuts pretty much for the whole show, which I'm not generally a wild animal at a show, but front row that day, just magical. And if that was my last kiss, what a hell of a last kiss it was, because those memories of the joy of the performance, of the experience, of everything that was wrapped up in it, heading home on Bart and just being so kind of jazzed by the whole thing. I didn't come down for days, and to have really laid off the beer as well for the show and just got to enjoy it without any of that, just absolutely made a massive difference in my appreciation of the show. After having seen, several dates during the tour, for it to be as fresh and as vibrant and invigorating and as exciting, wasn't bored for a moment. Loved every single second of that show. I wish anyone who's gone to a concert could have that feeling. Wish you could put it in a bottle, sell it, that feeling. This is my ultimate Kiss experience drink.
Yeah.
Comes with rose tinted
But
glasses.
isn't that a bottle of beer?
No. Doesn't come anywhere near those feelings. You can't find a substitute for that, as you've said by your experience, as Lonnie has by his, and as Ken said by his. There you go. Everyone's gonna start playing with that damn feature now. Wait, am I there? Where was I? I was trying to see. I can't remember where I was.
Let's see. Oh, is it too high?
I think it got cut off on that picture.
There you go. That's
anyway,
fair enough.
That was
yeah. That was super fun. All right, Daniel, let's go back to you for your second.
Well, it's hard to top that one, and I mean, it's in the same realm, so to speak. It's live concerts and being surprised again. So I really have to give a shout out to Gene's solo tour that I went to. I mean, for years, I remember we were talking about what we wanted to see from a Gene Simmons tour, not thinking it would ever happen. I remember us going through set lists and giving suggestions. And to my surprise, a whole lot of the suggestions I had, or the things I wanted to hear, ended up in the set list like 3 or 4 years later, or whatever it was. And same again, I didn't watch many shows on YouTube. I stayed away, and I became surprised for real when I heard a few of the songs, especially some of my favorite songs from the early 80s that I never thought I would hear. And I didn't put away my camera, but I filmed myself. I think that's even better to have as a memory. Instead of filming the band, everyone's filming the band. But making a short film of yourself in that moment of euphoria that you can't really get in that state of mind at any other point of time. Just to, not a long film, but just to have like 10 seconds when you're singing along with songs from Lick It Up that you never thought you would hear again. I think that's awesome. So from time to time, I go back and I watch that little film I made with a few snippets from songs that I really enjoyed. And I can remember how it was. And as you said, Julian, the guys around you, because it's mostly guys, You sing together into the camera and you never see them again, but at that very moment you're one. We are one. You feel like, I've never been religious, but that's the closest thing to it. I get the feeling of unity and believing in the same thing, all of your heart. It might seem real silly to some people, but to me it isn't more silly than believing stuff that was written 1700 years ago or so. So I think it's awesome.
It all comes from the same root. It's tribalism. It's
Yeah.
believing in a common thing. It's
it's
standing
so
for the same
beautiful.
beliefs. So it's the same. It's just on a different level. So, but it's all from the same root. Ken, what about you for another one of your picks?
Another pick would be probably, excuse me, I would say the Gene Simmons Vault experience. He's always been, the favorite since the beginning, and then being able to go down there and see, meet all, you were down there and other people that we've maybe know online and stuff like that, meet those people while waiting to get into the vault. And then being able to go into the Capitol Records building, and then the studios where legends have, recorded music, Beach Boys, Frank Sinatra, the list goes on, all kinds of people. And then finally getting in there, and you're just in there and with your partner, your one guest, and you get that one-on-one time and to have a little chat. Fortunately, we were one of the early ones, the third ones in, so they hadn't cut back on the time that you could spend with Gene in there, and it was just kind of surreal, having that little extra time and meeting him, talking about his influences in music and stuff like that and whatnot, and it was just so pleasurable just to, and then say thank you to him, for all the years of music since the beginning, and and because that's probably got me through a lot of hard times, and makes you forget about those bad things that are going on at the time, maybe, or what's going on in the world when you listen to the music or go to the shows or whatever. It's that release that's needed, and Kiss has always been that. So it was just one of the greatest experiences. I'm glad it was worth every penny. You're saying, people were saying, oh yeah, you're paying $2,000 for a vault, but it's not just the vault. Vault, maybe I'm going to call $500 worth of it, and then the rest is the experience and meeting Gene, and then afterwards, when everyone else showed up, Ace and Bruce and Eric, and getting even pictures with all three of them while I was there. So it was just a great deal, a great experience. So that's one of the big ones I wouldn't, give up.
Yep. No, we were lucky. That's without a doubt. And vaults are up on eBay now for $500. So
Seriously?
there are some being cleared. You can still buy directly from GeneSimmonsVault.com, but you can get discounted ones on eBay. I think in the last week there were 5 listed by the same seller for $500. So it looks like a little bit of liquidation may be happening for those who are still interested in it. And I think they were generically signed as well. So, but not obviously dedicated. Yeah, my next one's really simple. Very quick. And when I thought about this topic as presented by Lonnie, he said your top Kiss events. Now that's such a broad definition to me.
Yeah.
That I really had one where I had to think about, what were the ones that left the strongest emotions. And we go back to the beginning of my fandom with the band, and that was after becoming a fan. finding out that there was a new Kiss album coming out, and getting on my bicycle and riding down to Music City in Binghamton, New York to buy Crazy Nights. The excitement, the anticipation, all of the emotions that you've suddenly gotten really into something and started discovering a band's history and their back catalog, and here they have something new. So for the very first time, you're getting to experience new music from a band that's starting to become important to you. And getting down there, holding it, I mean, it was like Holy Grail. It's like, a new Kiss album, and slowly peeling the wrapper off, and we'll leave it there. Because obviously putting Crazy Nights into a tape deck.
It went downhill.
Takes it straight back down, but, just the excitement of the first time. And then I had, same feeling for when Smash came out. And Hot in the Shade. You guys in the 70s were lucky. But those
had the same reaction.
Yeah, so there you go. But just that excitement of the very first fresh Kiss. Lonnie, yours.
That's a good one, too. Makes me want to almost change my pick. But I'll stick with what I originally had, and that was, there's so many good concerts, and I go back to like with what Daniel said, like when he saw him on the reunion tour. That was the first time I saw him, was on the third show of the reunion tour here in St. Louis, and that was amazing. That's up there, but I think above that is when I saw him on Rock the Nation tour in St. Louis in 2004. And it, again, kind of echoing some of the things you guys were saying, is that, Kiss means different things to different fans. And Kiss has gotten us through difficult times, like maybe one we're in right now. And, it's different, and got us through difficult personal times too. And in 2004 is when I got divorced, and I had moved back home, and I was just really just kind of at a loss of where I was going in life, and Kiss toured that summer, and my brother and I got platinum tickets. My brother's like, we're going to do something cool. We're going to do something fun together. We're going to pick you up out of this depression that you're in. We're going to get platinum tickets. We're going to go. So we did. We had, both of us took the day off of work. We went to Six Flags during the day, and just had another good bonding experience type of deal. And then went to the show, and my brother was upset he didn't get to watch all of Poison because we had to go meet the band. I was like, dude, it's fucking Poison. So
let's see. Do I want to meet the band, or do I want to see? I mean, come on.
Really, it's going to be during Poison? Like, do you really need to hear Unskinny Bop another time? Come on. But that meet, and I've done several meet and greets. But that one was really cool because it was really early on in the meet and greets, and there's only like a dozen of us backstage. And I've been to a meet and greet. I've been to a meet and greet like in Chicago where there's 200 of us backstage, and they just follow you in like cattle. Mm. But there's only 12 of us there, and like the band comes out, and it's just like all of a sudden they're there, and they're just first time. It was the first time I had met any member of. It was the first time I met Gene or Paul. I'd met Eric previously, but I'd never met Gene or Paul before. And they come out, and it's just like, oh my God, there they are, right in front of my face. And they walk out, and the tour manager goes, okay, we're gonna line you up for pictures, and then and everybody lined up for pictures, and then everybody's just standing around. Everybody had a few things in their hands, and they just say, okay, go meet the band, and you just walk up to them and start talking to them. And it wasn't like, two things. I mean, they would stand there and sign whatever you wanted to. If you had half a dozen or a dozen things, they'd stand there and just talk to you and, answer a question you might have and things like that. And just, Kiss had just done those in-your-face shows in Australia a couple months prior, playing at those small clubs down there in those theaters. And I remember asking Gene, is there any thoughts of doing some of those in the United States? Because, like, man, I'd be all over that. It'd be awesome to see Kiss in a club in makeup doing some rare tracks like they did in Australia. And he's like, well, it's something we've talked about, but like everything else, it takes time. I remember him telling me that, and I was so giddy meeting them. And like when I got my picture with them, Gene could like tell that I was just like beside myself. so much so that he like one of the pictures that they took has Gene giving me like a wet willy. He has his finger in my ear because he could just tell I was just like out of my mind. You can tell I was a super fanboy. And then the show that night was just incredible too. You know, we often talk about the Rock the Nation tour and that set list and how it was cool because it was different and they played different songs when they had been playing basically the same set list during the reunion and Psycho Circus and Farewell tour. It was such a breath of fresh air for that set list. And we sat down, backing up a little bit, we sat down that night. We're sitting in the third row. And my brother looks at me and he goes, "We paid $1,000 to be here, and we're sitting in the third row. Who the hell sits in the front row?" And there's no one sitting in the front row. No one. And we're like, what do I got to do? And one by one, Rhodey started bringing down girls and putting them in the front row. And Ty goes, "Well, I don't have a set of tits. That's why I'm not in the front row." So, but again, you know, it just, you know, and kind of echoing what Daniel was saying, just like the bonding experience and like, you know, everybody believes in the same thing and everybody is just, you know, we believe in this and here they are. And it's just the concerts themselves to me is just the best part about it. And meeting the band that night was just something I'll never forget. And then sharing that experience with my brother, so who introduced me to the band and, you know, on and on. So just, you know, things I would never, memories I wouldn't trade for anything.
Nice. All right, Daniel, let's go back to you for a final choice, and you might have to get creative because yours have been excellent.
I wish I had a brother like that. Seems like a great brother.
He's great.
Yeah, but I don't. So, well, I don't know what I'm going to tell you now. Maybe what Julian said made me think, you know, anticipation is a big part. In German, they have a word called Vorfreude. I don't know what you say in English, if there's even a word for it, but the feeling before the actual event, so to speak. You know, when you're going to a concert, it's almost as strong a feeling before the concert has even started. And I think that feeling is hard to attain these days when you're a grown-up in the same way, but I remember quite a few times when Kiss created that feeling for me. And of course, at live shows, you had that feeling. When you were anticipating albums, like Julian said, for me it was the Revenge album. Left my friend alone at the, golf course in the midst of a game and ran home to get the album. It was coming by mail, so left him hanging there. But I would like to give a shout out to persons that meant a whole lot to me during the mid-90s, when news were slow, didn't really happen much. At least here in Europe, you had the short tour of the UK in '92. I missed that one, and then there weren't a whole lot of Kiss events here before the reunion. But there was one thing that always got me this feeling of, this Vorfreude, anticipation feeling, and it was the Kiss magazines. The guys who spent time on creating these beautiful Kiss magazines, like Kiss Firehouse from Canada, I got that one, and Strike magazine from that Italian guy. And I remember getting one of those in the mail and reading it maybe twice, at least, and getting news, because the internet had just started. You know, when the Kiss Asylum and Kiss Otaku, or whatever, however you pronounce it, when they started, you didn't really need the magazines in the same way. But before that, before the internet started, those magazines were gold. I mean, getting those, and some of, I actually still to this day buy them when I see them on the Swedish equivalent to eBay. I have this sort of a rule: I can't spend more than $20 on a Kiss thing, because I mean, I'm a grown up and I have children. I have to, you guys don't seem to follow the same rules, but I try at least most of the time, because it seems insane to buy a six version of Revenge for a few $100. I can't do that. I mean, I can't do that. But there are a lot of stuff that is kind of cheap. And these magazines are one of those. So I recently got one, and it was almost the same feeling. It was one from 1990 that I hadn't read. It was focusing on the Hot in the Shade tour. But man, when you read them as an adult, it seems like some of the fans who were writing the stories were kind of lunatics, following the band everywhere, waiting outside the rooms, going into the cafeteria, talking with them, almost harassing the band. But when you read it back in the day, it seemed so cool. But now I think when you're growing up, you see you don't have that. You have something stops you from doing that. But they went all in. I mean, when they talk about this South American tour in '94, some of the fans there were rabid. But it's fun to read. And so I would like to give a shout out to those guys who spent such a whole lot of time on those magazines because they look kind of professional, and they went out of their way to gather the news that we really didn't get from any other source. So that's one of my favorite memories.
Yep, and without them, I wouldn't have been able to do the original Kiss album Focus, because so much of that was just kind of quotes mined out of all of the efforts that the likes of Nico or Ron Roxburgh or God, I mean, endless list of people. I mean, one of Ken Sharp's books was on fanzines, which is a really great kind of tribute to the work those guys did. Joop van Pelt, the Dutch guy who did Kiss Collector. So, kudos to all those guys. I totally agree with that. Nice of you to bring that up. Ken, how about a final pick from you?
Well, I'll do it quick. Daniel started talking about that feeling of that you have before the show, and that would have been the first concert that I went to, Dynasty, where I said it before, I felt sick to my stomach. I was so excited. I was just overwhelmed that I was going to finally see them, because back then I hadn't seen, I don't even know if I had seen a snippet of them anywhere live at all. It was really the first experience of really seeing them in person and on stage. Because I didn't know what to expect. I saw all the pictures with the fire and them on stage with guitars, and then of course there's the live too, and so on. But to actually be there and actually see it happen, I was really excited on that one. And it's my first show, so it's a major event. Finally getting to see them for the very first time, and I had to wait a couple of years because I started getting into them in '77, so it was just 2 years, but it was November '79, and it was just, again, mind-blowing and fantastic and superhero-ish kind of stuff, which was cool, and the effects and just the crowd. I don't know. I was just entranced the whole time on what was going on stage, and nothing else around me, really. I know people were, I was with, I think one of my sisters and a few other friends, and I just remember, man, I just totally into it. So that was a huge experience that I'll never forget. And I don't know. I don't know if I've ever been that excited, at least before something like that. That was pretty exciting.
You don't have the urge to puke because you're so excited too often, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even care that the line went all the way around the freaking building.
Yeah.
And then we were so far back. I didn't care. I mean, once we got in, we got a pretty decent spot on the floor.
That's the great thing about all these picks today, is they're really not anything that you can ever go back to. They're those moments in time. They're kind of the chapter bookmarks in your life story, because they stand out for various reasons. And there's so many other ones with family and school and life and everything that are those bookmarks as well. But these are the musical ones that go. I'm going to let Lonnie have the last pick because it's his topic, but I'm going to do my final one first. And it's all about people. It's so easy to talk, I could easily go and cop out and pick, the Peter Criss Cat Club again, in New York as one, just because of everything that was wrapped up in that. But I really wanted to approach Lonnie's topic a little bit differently than I usually think about the things. But I come back to the same thing, really, and it is people. The first time I ever attended a Kiss Expo was the Indianapolis Kiss Expo in 1999. I believe it was ESP that year. But at that event, I went kind of as a vendor. I get that in the following year mixed up because it's just a blur now, 20 years on. But I was given my first interview opportunity at that expo. Keith LaRue facilitated me interviewing Bruce Kulick in person as my first ever proper interview. So it's very special on that level. It was very special on the level of meeting people like Dale Sherman, meeting fans and all of that, congregating for the first time at an expo and seeing what all of the magic was about, that I'd heard about, that I'd read in fanzines, but actually getting to experience it. And that really was kind of towards the end of the heyday of the Kiss Expos before they kind of changed. Lonnie, let's have your final pick, and then we'll just go into some board topics.
I would be remiss if I didn't say that the Kiss cruise that I went on would be another one, because I got engaged on it. So if I didn't say that one, I think it would be pretty bad. So, but I went on the second Kiss cruise, and seeing the band unplugged in that setting was really cool. And again, not knowing what they're going to play, and the crowd chanting Mr. Speed. Oh, well, we'll break into Mr. Speed. It's like, man, that's really freaking cool. And again, like what Julian said, it's not something that you can recreate, and it's a moment in time. Things like that happen, and they played Come On and Love Me, and they played Every Time I Look at You. It's like, man, it's just fantastic. Things you would never ever hear. And then getting up the next day and going for a run. They had a little track on the boat, and I went for a little run, and played it as cool as I possibly could, like nothing was up, we're just boyfriend and girlfriend, and talked her in somehow into going on the Kiss cruise with me, and went to breakfast with some friends, and I had put out on Facebook to multiple people that I knew that were going on the cruise, like the band Mr. Speed, Andrew was in the band at the time, and I'd reached out to Joe and Rich and as well, and I knew them from different Kiss Expos and Kiss Indianapolis Expos, and we'd hung out, several years after the Expos, and reached out to Ron Buckley and a couple other friends of mine that were on the cruise, and said, hey, I'm going to propose to her at 10 o'clock this morning. We're going to go to breakfast, and I'm just going to propose to her. I said, and if I could have some people there to take some pictures, to document it, that'd be awesome. And obviously everybody's like, yeah, absolutely, and I wanted to do it at a time when there was nothing going on, so there wouldn't be a conflict, like, well, I really don't want to do that because this band's playing at this time, so no, sorry, Lonnie, and you can totally see it. So we went to breakfast, and I'm nervous, obviously, so I went and got a Bloody Mary, had that. She looks at me like, okay, I guess we're starting early today. But to calm myself down a little bit. And, I finished eating, and I just stood up, and I said, attention, Kiss Navy. My name is Lonnie Weissauer, and I'm here on the Kiss cruise with my girlfriend, Becky Ross. I go, stand up, Becky. And she looks at me like, what in the fuck are you doing? And, and I said, you and I have been friends for a long time, blah, blah, blah. Got down on one knee and proposed, and it was really cool. And some friends of mine were able to take some really cool pictures of it. Me talking, and her look at me like, "What are you doing?" And me down on one knee, and her saying yes. It was really nice. And it was obviously an experience I'll never forget. So, and the don't think I could make a list of favorite Kiss events and not put that in there. So
Can you pan the camera a little to the left so that we can see the shotgun pointing at your head?
She's not in this room. She was a second ago, but she's not in here. So I can't make a list of Kiss events without putting that in there.
No, and what an awesome one that is. I mean, every time I went into the breakfast buffet, I was also very nervous and needed a Bloody Mary before touching any of that fucking food as well. But, for a different yeah, for a different reason. All right, let's hit some topics on the board here. There was actually one that kind of jumped out this week. Obviously, it's getting honest about the elder. And blah, blah, blah. I'll just read the... I think that people often claim to like the elder much more than they actually do, as if it's an obligation as a passionate fan to defend such a notorious disaster. And I actually think that raises a valid point. Daniel, what's your take on that? Do you think people overcompensate with their opinion about an album like The Elder or Carnival of Souls just because they were essentially failures? What's your take on that topic?
Well, we were going to try to keep this a positive episode. It's kind of hard for me to talk about The Elder because I do think people tend to like, albums that didn't do so well because it's can at times be kind of hip to do it. So I think there are people who give the Elder more credit than it might deserve because of that. But then, of course, there's a whole lot of people that loves the Elder as well. But for me, it was wrong from the get-go, the concept is so silly, to me at least. I know some of you guys talked about Wasp the other day, and they made a great sort of concept album, I think in 92, maybe 93, somewhere around there. What was it called? The Idol? The
Crimson Idol.
The Crimson Idol,
which would be our next episode, actually.
Okay, I have to watch that one because that's an awesome album. And the theme or the concept is kind of cool and doesn't feel so far off as the concept of the Elder. I mean, just looking at the lyrics, I actually did a thing today that I haven't done for a long time. I ride my bicycle to work every day just to get my daily workout. And today I listened to The Elder, and it was a long way to work today. Man, it took forever. But I listened through all of it from the first song to the last one, and I haven't done that for a long time. And what struck me was the problem with the lyrics. I haven't really thought about that so much because there's a whole lot of words in there that has nothing to do with Kiss for me. Like prophecy, will you sacrifice from a far-off galaxy? Well, maybe Ace could have written something like that, but enchanted place, lost in the mist. I mean, what the hell are they talking about? It's terrible to me. I always have to say that. But when you compare it with Wasp's album, I mean, you could pick any song from that album and put it on another Wasp album, and it would still work. I mean, if you pick like the Crimson Idol, Chainsaw Charlie, what are they? Dr. Rocker is a good one as well. You could put them even on the first album, and they would totally rock. But imagine taking like Odyssey or Fanfare or Escape from the Island, putting them on Revenge or another album. It wouldn't really work. But you have to admit that Kiss has done a lot of different albums. But to me, this one, it's a real stinker. And I do think people give it a whole lot more credit than it deserves.
I think that would have been the most epic troll of all time had the very first notes to the Revenge album have been a reprise of Fanfare. That would have been just too good a troll. Ken, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I understand where there are people that I feel obligated because they're just a big Kiss fan, and everything they do is great. But I enjoyed the album. I mean, I swear though, when I first heard, the Oath, and then it kicked into Fanfare. I was kind of like, all right, something's going on different here. This is interesting. But I enjoyed the song, Just a Boy. I thought, it's a good, nice song, good melody. And then Only You, which something could have maybe, Gene could have done on a solo album, which I also like. I really love the Gene Simmons solo album. So I listened to that album a lot. I really did. Even, I listened to it more than Unmasked, for instance. It was different, but I thought it was kind of a cool thing, and I enjoyed all the songs. I thought it was a solid album, even though it was not a Kiss, pigeonholed Kiss style rock and roll type album. It was a concept album. It was somewhat progressive album, right? So I enjoyed it. I don't know what it is on my list, but it's not at the bottom. It's probably might be around 10 or something, about halfway. But I do listen to it still. And it even to me, it still had an anthem on it with which is a great song. So I enjoy it. It's different. It was a nice, one of those left turns that we've talked about before. I like it better than, Hot in the Shade and other stuff like that, and Carnival of Souls. I don't stand up for Carnival of Souls. I like some of it. I like mostly Gene stuff on there too. But it is what it is. But yeah, I understand that there are people out there that they just feel obligated. Yeah, they didn't like it when they first listened to it. But that's the way with some other music too. I may have not liked something. I know for a fact that I've gone back and listened to other music that I thought was crap back in the 70s, for instance, and then now I listen to it like, you know what? This is actually pretty good. So you can change your tune too, your taste in music as you grow older.
Yeah.
I just have to add quickly, I do understand why Ken likes the album, because when I listen to it today, Gene's vocals are stunning at times and real reminiscent of the solo album stuff. I wrote it here when I listened, and to me the songs just aren't there. But I do understand, if you like the Gene Simmons solo album, I guess there are 3-4 songs that you really like from Gene on this one. So I do understand that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, talking about being a passionate fan to defend a notorious disaster, something that Lonnie knows about as a sports fan.
Wow, it's a shot at me from out of nowhere.
Oh man!
What do you think about?
I'm on cloud 9 right here. We got a quarterback, and you're still taking shots at me.
might as well while I can, There, it's all fair. So, how do you think that works with the elder view?
I kind of have a problem with Kiss, and we all know a Kiss fan who loves everything that they've ever put out. Who's, every Kiss album is his favorite Kiss album, and Kiss never made a bad song. And if Kiss will buy anything that has a Kiss, it's the same guy that'll buy anything that has a Kiss logo on it. And his name's Andy, and he lives in Boston. No, I'm kidding.
No, he's the super Aerosmith fan. You got to remember that.
But we all know a guy like that, who, if Kiss put out Kiss dog shit, he'd buy Kiss dog shit because it has a Kiss logo on it. And we all know a guy like that. And, that's not being objective. Not every Kiss album is my favorite Kiss album. And while The Elder is not my least favorite Kiss album, it's probably in my bottom third. If I would put a top third, a middle third, a bottom third, it'd be in my bottom third probably. It's not my least favorite. I'm with Ken. Hot in the Shade is a pile of garbage next to The Elder. But but I do have a problem with the people who try to build up that, maybe not necessarily Elder, because I do like certain things on the Elder. Is the Elder's a good album, and they often say it's a good album, but maybe not a good Kiss album, because it really doesn't fit in with the concepts that you get out of your standard or typical Kiss album. Again, like what Daniel was saying about prophecy and this and that. Like, no, put your hand in my pocket, grab onto my rocket. That's a Kiss album. Not this other kind of nonsense that they were trying to make themselves seem smarter than what they really were in 1981. So, I don't have a problem with the Elder. I think it's a fine album. Maybe not the greatest Kiss album, but it's fine. And it's fun. And it's fun to listen to every once in a while. Just to listen to it and like, it's such a left turn from where they were and then where they went in 1982 with Creatures of the Night. It's so standalone and different from everything else they've ever done. But I don't think you need to prop it up on a pedestal and make it something that it's not. Anyway.
Okay.
Julian's bored. He's playing with his background.
Yeah, I don't really have a response to that. I think it's a natural human thing that sometimes when something is unpopular, there's always a contrary person who has to overcompensate for that and then make that their favorite thing. Because I wasn't there in 81 and because my interaction with the Elder was the result of a quest, I don't think I can really answer that question myself. I just don't think it's something that I can even apply an opinion for, because, I do happen to like some pretty unpopular albums in the Kiss catalog, and that I just put down to different taste rather than overcompensating. The Elder, though, is a completely different beast, because it was at a time in the band's history where many questionable things were happening. So I think ultimately it doesn't matter. I think there's probably a certain amount of validity in the statement, but again, who cares? It's just an album. So, whatever is my thought on that. I don't want to go into these other topics today. I want to save those for when we have more time to give them, a bit more thought and justice, because Lonnie's topic took much longer than I thought it would. So well done.
Thanks.
You exceeded my expectations.
You set the bar low. It's not that hard.
No, I'm actually very shocked. I often think that these are similar to topics that we've done before, but we approach them in different ways, even though they are similar. Now Ken's getting in on the action. Yeah, these shows are going to get interesting now that someone's definitely going to be lining up some very inappropriate images to be flashing up on their screen. I can just see that happening. But let's leave that there for this week. That's plenty of discussion for you to ponder. We want you to chime in with your thoughts and opinions on what we've said, what you think are the correct answers or opinions. Tell us how we're wrong. Tell us how Ken's right. Tell us how Lonnie's team's going to do, if any of these teams actually ever get to play a game.
If there is a season.
Yeah. So, for now, from Daniel, from Lonnie, from Ken and myself, thank you for joining us. And yes, the next episode of the Look It's Rock and Roll podcast, which I think we're doing next week, will be another Wasp chat, and it will be the Crimson Idol. If you've managed to check out our previous two, they're just, Andy's wanted to talk about Wasp for a long time, and it's just a good opportunity to bring some new faces on. And any of these guys are welcome to talk about any of these albums if any of them grab their fancy. But do join us, check it out, and until then, we shall see you next time. So thanks for joining us. Take care. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.